Oh, look over there. There go the Brewsters. They're trying to normalize cold-blooded murder again. Weirdos. Arsenic and Old Lace, released in 1944 and is directed by Frank Capra, who is a legendary filmmaker who's directed such films like It Happened One Night, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, You Can't Take It With You, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and one of my personal favorites, It's a Wonderful Life. And this film is starring the legendary, dashing, dapper, young-looking man of Cary Grant, Raymond Massey, Peter Lorre, Priscilla Lane, Jack Carson, Josephine Hull, and Jean Adair. And the reason why we're talking about Arsenic and Old Lace today is because it was a PayPal recommendation from one of my biggest supporters on this channel, who is constantly there for me, giving me recommendations left and right. Autumn Blood, you strike again with a recommendation of another film that I have never seen before. I feel like I've always heard about this one, though, because this film is based on the 1941 play of the same name, and me being a theater graduate student, you would think I would know a lot about plays, but the truth is, I haven't really read that many plays in my whole career. I'm just a slow reader, and in the theater world, when you're directing, when you're acting, you read a lot, and it's just hard. Movies are just moving pictures that I can look at and have the audio, tell me the story. So it's much easier to be into films, I think, than theater. But that's just my piece, that's just my opinion. Moving on. Arsenic and Old Lace primarily takes place at the Brewster family home in Brooklyn, New York. And our lead character's name is Mortimer Brewster, who has just recently gotten married, you see. And on their way to the honeymoon, the newlywed couple stop by to tell Mortimer's childhood aunts and caretakers the good news. But while there, Mortimer discovers that his two aunts have been going on a recent killing spree and killing 12 people that have come to their establishment. So now all plans for the honeymoon have been postponed, and Mortimer takes it upon himself to commit his aunts and try to wrap up all of the dead bodies that are in the cellar. But some new troubles start happening when Mortimer's long-lost brother stops by, known as Jonathan, who is also a serial murderer. So the film becomes one mistaking identity and paths crossing, door revolving, opening type storytelling. It's a farcical play, and it's a lot of fun. I'm gonna stop doing the old Hollywood accent, though, because, God, that's annoying me. I can only imagine what it's doing for you out there. And you can tell that this film is based on a stage production because there is a lot of dialogue, and a lot of the action, a lot of the conflict comes from dialogue between two different characters, as opposed to focusing on the scenery or focusing on just the cinematography in general. And as the play starts, we're getting about like 10-15 minutes into it, and I noticed that really we're spending most of our time in this Brewster household, and I'm thinking, this is probably based on a play, because I can just picture the set in my mind right now just as being one big huge box set with multiple layers and revolving doors that people can come in and out of. And I confirmed that this film is based on a play that was produced 3 years prior to this movie being made. So if we're going back in the history of theater, that's kind of how it was. You would have a theatrical production produced on Broadway or professionally somewhere, and then Hollywood would be like, ooh, cool stories, let's take it and adapt it. And it's definitely a play for the time. While I think it would be kind of nostalgic and kind of a fun glimpse in time if it is produced today, but a lot of the comedic moments, a lot of the comedic lines that are being said in here are really only for the people who grew up around this time. In particular, those who were big fans of Theodore Roosevelt. There is an entire character in here who he thinks that he is the living embodiment of Theodore Roosevelt and is constantly charging up the staircase and is playing his trumpet and signing bills and paving the way to Panama down in the cellar. And I'm thinking, gosh, in 1944, yeah, people would understand that, but if I didn't pay attention in history class today in 2022, gosh, I had no idea what the comedy is here. Thankfully, I paid a little attention in history classes in high school, so I got most of the jokes in there. But you can also tell that this is based on a theatrical play just by the performances that we're getting in here. They are pretty much over the top, and a lot of it is done through facial reactions and physicality. Because if you think about it, when you're on stage and you're playing for thousands of people, the people in the nosebleed sections all the way in the back are really far away from the stage, so it's really hard to make out little distinctions and little quirks that an actor may be able able to do easily in front of a camera. So in theater, actions need to be big and broad and overreacted a lot so that everyone in the back can get the same response as the audience in the front row. So Cary Grant is basically just hamming it up here the entire time. Almost to the point where he's Curly from the Three Stooges, which I was shocked to see that, because when I think of Cary Grant, I think of elegancy, I think of gentlemanlike. I don't think of him as... And that's all he was doing in here. And it was pretty hilarious. To see a gentleman of his stature doing that comedic, low-comedy, pratfall type thing, actually really funny. And a lot of the jokes in here rely on Raymond Macy appearing more like Boris Karloff as Frankenstein's monster. In real life, he really didn't look anything like it, but that's the whole gist behind this story point. He looks like Frankenstein's monster. And it makes him creepy, makes him a little scary, makes him a little terrifying. Also with how this play kind of pans out, kind of also makes him an idiot. Like, I don't understand. He is a serial murderer, and he finds out that his aunts are killing people in the cellar. So it's like, well, here's a nice little living arrangement. Why don't you just kind of join forces and get all of your kicks out at the same time? But, you know, it's a play, it's a movie, and we need plot and we need problems, so there you go. And Peter Lorre is great as his assistant, Dr. Einstein. He has just that perfect kind of Igor-ish quality about him, where he is that henchman, and he's always kind of shuffling along, and he has that voice of, "Oh, mister, no, I can't do it. I'm too scared to do the procedure." Definitely supporting actor quality performances he has always given out over his life. If you are a fan of plays, if you are a fan of a lot of dialogue and mistaken identity and a revolving door type complex, you're going to have a really good time with this film. If, though, you are a very logical person and you look at the circumstances of these characters and the conflicts and the plot points that they are in, and you kind of sit back and ask yourself, why are you being dumb and doing these things when you could easily just do this and everything would just resolve itself that way? But why do that? If you are one of those people, you may find this film pretty worthless and kind of childish and maybe a waste of your time. But I think it's a great look back into the 1940s area, and it's really nice to see a play adaptation here in film. And it's really nice to see comedic chops coming from legendary lead actor Cary Grant, who does a pretty dang good job here. I'm going to give Arsenic and Old Lace 4 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I like it a lot.
Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my videos where I pick which movie I'm going to be watching next, and the next one comes as a PayPal recommendation from one of my subscribers who have given me some doozies over the last several months, particularly around Halloween time. Dr. Camp, you strike again with a movie called Hellbound? It's a Chuck Norris film, so of course, it's going to be like God is on screen. Or is Chuck Norris just Chuck Norris? I forget all the Chuck Norris jokes from like 10 years ago. Come to think of it, I don't think I've ever seen a Chuck Norris film. This may be a first blood for me. But we'll check out Hellbound next time. So guys, have you seen Arsenic and Old Lace? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of Hellbound. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.